Relax in the coaching lounge and engage with compelling, motivational speakers. Be prepared to transform your inner world, to shape your outer world through empowering discussions. Tune into the Coaching Lounge now.
You're tuned in to another episode of the Coaching Lounge with your host, Rebecca Gordon, lead life coach at satellitelifecoaching.com. Listen to interviews with creative thinkers, motivational speakers, models of success, and key people of influence. Tune in, relax, engage, and transform your life now.
Welcome to another edition of the Coaching Lounge podcast. On my last show, the topic of discussion was relationships, and I spoke to Ivona Gordon, who's a life coach from London, about how we can get relationship ready. And today I'm continuing the theme of relationships. My name is Rebecca Gordon. I'm a change and transformation coach at satellitelifecoaching.com. And today I'm joined by relationship therapist Marianne Hansen. Marianne is a former social worker who retrained to become a counsellor and then a counselling supervisor. And Marianne has extensive experience of counselling, and we'll find out more about her journey in the interview, because I always think it's best for the guests to tell us about themselves, about what brought them to this place, to where they are in their journey, and to explore their expertise and how that can help us in our lives going forward. So welcome to the Coaching Lounge, Marianne.
Yep, thanks for having me, Rebecca.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Now, relationships is always a very hot topic, so I've said earlier. yeah. I'm not in a relationship myself at this present moment. I've had relationships, and I'm now in my 50s actually, and at this time in my life, I welcome any information, any support that will help me to attract and to actually be in a loving relationship, which is one of my objectives, one of my goals. So this interview is very close to my heart, Marianne.
Okay. Oh, that's good. I must have to say that you don't look like you're in your 50s. You look really good for your age.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
And
Yes.
I'll also add is that regardless of age, whether you're in the teens, whether 20s, 30s, or whatever age, dating advice is always like useful, or relationships are all unique. So,
Yes.
there'll probably be some themes for whoever's listening to this that they can tap into regardless of age, hopefully.
Absolutely. And the questions that I've got to ask you do cover, like you say, for any age that you're at. But what I'd like to do is to talk to you about you, Marianne. And you were a social worker.
Yeah.
So tell me about that life.
Well, when I left school and went on to college, I did not know what I wanted to be. I started off training actually as a chef. I'm a trained chef.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I then went from job to job from the age of 16 onwards, and I really didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. And then something inside me said that I would love to work with people. So initially I was actually going to train to be a psychologist. But then when I sort of spent a bit of time around like psychology departments and just how it operates, I felt that it was too mechanical. It wasn't very person-centered, if you like. So social work was my opportunity to, engage with families, to maybe make a difference. But after a number of years doing that, I still occasionally do social work bits here and there, but there was just something inside me that wanted to do a bit more, wanted to get deeper, and really understand what's going on for people and how you can help. So I trained as a counsellor 8 years ago, spent 3 years at Women's Aid as a volunteer counsellor. Then I spent another 2 years at Cars Lane Counselling Centre as another volunteer. And then I eventually became a private practitioner. Now, the interesting thing was I started off as a general counsellor. I was counselling anyone, whatever the issue was. And then I started to get loads of inquiries from couples and also women, especially women with relationship problems. It just sort of happened that way, that was the majority of my cases. And that made me then do some more training and then like focus and specialise in relationships. And so, yeah, from there it's just been onwards and upwards from there.
Mm-hmm. It is nice to hear that couples come to you.
Yeah, I think couples therapy over the last year, I mean, it's been big in America for, you know, there's so many programs I've watched on it, but also in America, couples therapy is big, you know, and they're not afraid to, like, some of these programs I watch, they're not afraid to say, look, we need couples therapy. I think in the UK, it's still not as big as America. I think there's still some taboo from people who feel that we don't want to talk about our relationship in front of a therapist, but it's getting better. I mean, I have people come to me of all ages and all, like, long-term, people who've been in relationships short-term, all sorts of dynamics, really. The key thing is, if you feel that your relationship isn't working or functioning in a particular way, you know, your communication is off. There's no the sexual issues, the intimacy issues, then you haven't really got anything to lose by going to speak to someone who's not going to judge you, and that person is going to act as a mediator. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think I'm getting a lot more inquiries from couples.
Fantastic, yeah, because it is valuable. I mean, you know, sometimes people might think actually that they don't want to go to a third party to talk about, you know, their business.
Yeah.
So is that a barrier? How do you support couples who, or it might not be both couples, but somebody in the relationship who comes to you and one of them's a bit hesitant? Does that happen? How do you help them to get over that?
That's a good point, Rebecca, because that does happen a lot. You might have one person who might email or phone me and they're saying, I would like me and my partner to come for couples counselling. The first question I always ask as a counsellor is, have you discussed this with him or her? Do they want to come as well? Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes I'll get the reply will be, I haven't told them yet, but this is what I want to do. I always say, right, unless you both want to come and you're both committed to it, I'm unsure whether it's going to work. Because the problem will be that you might drag your partner along to this couples counselling, but counselling is a process. And if one person is going to sort of sit in the room and just begrudgingly be sat there, but they're not really going to open up, they're not going to engage, then I don't see how, like, it can work fully.
Yes.
My experience has been that when couples come along together, although there might be hesitancy, meaning they're unsure about the process and what's going to happen, but when they're both on board and they both say, yes, we want to be here, then it does work. And I think there'll always be an element of hesitancy, and I don't think that's a big thing, because anyone coming for counselling, whether you're an individual or a couple, you don't know what's going to happen when you come into that room. You don't know what the counsellor's going to be like. You don't know what feelings are going to come up. A major thing that people think is that if we start talking about the problem, I'm going to feel worse. You know, it's going to make me upset. I'm going to cry. I'm going to leave this counselling session and I'm going to feel worse than I did when I got there. So I prepare my clients. I'll say to them, there might be things you talk about that will make you feel upset. There might be a bit of pain through some of the sessions, but if you can trust the process and work through it, then it will come out better at the other end. And that's like my honest belief that with counselling, you've got to stick with the process, but there'll always be a good outcome at the end. That's been my experience.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Okay. So let's just step back a little bit and go to the point of before being in a relationship. I mean, do you have single people coming to you?
Yeah, I do get quite a lot of single people. It's usually women more than men. I've had maybe 2 men that have come to me for counselling, and it's been linked to stress and depression around the fact that they're at a certain age, they haven't met anyone, they're getting pressure from their family to get married, but they're just not ready for relationships, or they don't trust women. Majority have been women who have either been in on-off relationships where they know it's not going anywhere, or there's been trust issues. Maybe there's been past domestic violence, or they've got low self-esteem, so they can't go into a relationship. And what I have to do at that stage, when someone's single, the type of work you're going to be doing as a counsellor really is looking at their self-worth, their self-esteem, trying to build them up first, and then talk about their perception of relationships. So an example might be, if someone has trust issues, is that just in relationships, or is that like that fact that they don't trust themselves? Maybe they don't trust people at work. Maybe trust issues are probably prevalent in other areas of their life. So you would explore that with them. You would go deeper with that first, and then during maybe sessions 8 to 12, or when they're seeing you for longer, you then would start to build them up so that they feel more confident to be able to take those chances. And something I do, Rebecca, which I really enjoy doing actually, is I'll set little tasks or homework for people. So say if someone is single and they're scared of dating, they might get a little task from me, which is to start having conversations with men more. So that might just be when you go to your local petrol station, your local corner shop, you're not looking at dating these men, but you're getting more comfortable actually having conversations with men. Mm-hmm. You know, that could be a little step towards building trust. You know, not all men are the same. So if you can get into a habit of engaging with men on a certain level, it opens you up to other things.
Now, it's interesting that you said that, Marianne, because just about an hour ago, a friend of mine sent me a video. She sends me some great videos to watch. And this one, it's actually a dating coach, and he set somebody a challenge. And the challenge was, go along when you go to the bar, just go up to somebody a man who's by himself, he told her, and just start a conversation with them. So when they're buying a drink, just ask them, you know, what drink are you buying right now, you know, and just spark up a conversation. And just leave it at that, you know. If it goes further, then that's fine, into a deeper conversation. And then the woman who carried out that task, she later on, she said, actually, what happened? Somebody chased after me and they asked me for my number. So I just texted my friend and said, hey, I'm going to try that. Yeah, so... Yeah. So I do find, you know, when I'm coaching my clients, because I do coaching as opposed to counselling, coaching is moving someone forward. I say to them, actually, this time that we're in this space is your space to test things out in a safe way. So I do get what you're saying there with these little tasks that can make a big difference, really. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. So can I ask you then, Marianne, what advice would you give to a single man or single woman who's seeking a partner?
Well, what I would say is that the key thing before you even step out into seeking a partner is, first of all, you have to do the work on yourself. You have to be honest about yourself, about whether you're ready, because a lot of people are seeking relationships for the wrong reasons, and they're also getting a lot of pressure from family and from society that you have to be in a relationship. If you're not, something's wrong with you, or you're too fussy, or all sorts of things. Now, if you're not ready for a relationship, but first the key is, do you know what you want? Are you ready emotionally? You know, have you got the space in your life to share with someone? There are people I know who've lived on their own for a long time, and the idea of sharing their house or their space with someone, it's frightening to them. So at that stage, they wouldn't necessarily be ready for a relationship just yet. They might be ready to date, but then they might get fearful if it becomes too serious. So what I would say is, you need to identify what it is you want. Do you want a casual relationship? Do you want something serious? Do you want to get married? Do you want to just have fun? You need to clarify that when you're going on dates, because you need to be saying to that person, this is what I want. You need to do the work on yourself and just become whole as a person. I'm kind of dating at the moment. I've literally just met someone recently.
Congratulations.
Thank you. prior to that, I've just put myself out there over the last few years because I was in a long-term relationship, and when that ended, I personally wasn't ready to date. I knew that I wasn't. I needed time to get over that relationship. I spent years working on myself. It's only when I started becoming more happy, more confident, and more positive about my life without someone being in it that I then started getting asked on lots of dates. Started really saying to myself, this is what I want. And I think that's what people need to do. Don't be scared of all these labels that people keep putting on. You're too old. You know, if you don't get someone quickly, then you're going to lose out. You know, you need to stop being so fussy. You need to settle. You know, and all these messages. People just succumb to that. And I think if you're confident about who you are, you've done the work, and you have a lot to offer, then there'll never be an age limit, because there'll be someone out there that's going to see those skills, those qualities in you. So I think...
Because those messages that, you know, we can get from society, they actually make us think there's scarcity, you know, that we're going to get old and not ever have anyone. So therefore, that might cause us to go into the wrong relationship, you know, be with the wrong person, because we're thinking, oh, you know, it will never happen. So I do hear that. What I do want to discover from you is that if someone is starting to put themselves out there, and that might be meeting someone, you know, in a social setting, or through internet dating, what are some important things to establish when you're first getting to know someone?
Yeah, that's a good question, Rebecca. One of the key things I would say is that a lot of people, the mistake I think that people make is that they want to present a false image of who they are. So an example would be that if you're going on a date with someone, or if you're online talking to someone, you exaggerate things, you know, you don't do what you would normally do. So on a date, if you would normally dress a certain way, yeah, you're going to dress up. But if you go out and buy an outfit that is completely opposite to what you would ever wear, but you want to show this date, you know, you want to show a different side to you, it's probably the wrong time to do that on a first date, because you're then giving the impression that that's who you are, when really that's not you. You're presenting an image. And the same as online, if you're exaggerating, you know, if your hobbies and your pastimes are reading or cooking, that might sound boring, because I know these dating sites tell you to, you know, make everything stand out.
Yeah.
But if you say that, you know, you make all these things up, what you've got to realise is eventually, if you meet that person, it's not going to be offline, it's going to be, it's going to be offline, not online. You then have to prove what you've said. So the key thing I would say is to be yourself, be authentic. The person who likes you is going to like you for you. They're not going to want you to pretend to be someone else. Be confident, be clear on what you want, because with some of these dating sites, and I've been on dating sites myself previously, been on a few, make your profile clear, make it interesting. All people have to look at, it's the same as when they meet you in person. You have literally 5 minutes to make that impression, or you have like a little bit of time to make a good impression, really. So it's about putting your best foot forward, showing off the best version of you, but not exaggerating or pretending, being confident, just being relaxed. The other mistake people make is that they build themselves up to this stress and pressure for the first date, and they want the person to like them so much that they're too tense, they're not relaxed. Now, if you're going on a first date, you should be thinking, I might like that person, they might like me, but if it doesn't work out, then it's just been a first date, that's the end. There's nothing to do there. You both go your separate ways. Don't take it personal. People get so hung up on having to make someone like them that it's an anxious situation. It then doesn't become fun, because you're on that date and you're so tense, worried about like whether the person likes you, that you don't relax. So that would be my
yeah. And I think you've mentioned a really important word there, which is fun. So I think for me, one of the things I did, actually went on a date, must have been about 3 months ago now, And it was just the one date. And I thought to myself, okay, well, I want to go and have fun, you know, see what this person's about, get to know somebody else, somebody new. And very importantly, not look at that person as the one.
Yes.
Yeah, because that, like you say, it puts pressure on. So nothing came of that date, you know, and that's fine. But I had fun, and I've made another connection. And certainly, you know, there's some exchange there in terms of friendship, but not as a relationship. So, you know, I think really the other thing is that when I go on a date, it's always about seeking to learn about the other person, seek to discover more about someone else. So that takes the pressure off me trying to perform, you know, to be my best in this, you know, and show the best of myself, you know. So that's part of relaxing in it, isn't it?
Yeah. And the thing is, what you said there, Rebecca, is really true, and it's so important because you went on that date with the right intentions, and it's about setting the have fun when you're getting ready, you know. When I go on dates, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm going to marry this person, or oh, this is the one, or any of that. I'm getting dressed. I'm making sure I put on an outfit that I like and that I would normally wear when I go out. I'm getting ready. I'm not having any expectations when I get there. I'm not thinking about all the things like who's going to pay, what's the restaurant going to be like, what's he going to be like, because you're already setting yourself too much pressure. You just go out, like you just said, you have fun. If that person calls you afterwards for another date, then that's fine. If they don't, or if you both decide it's not the right person, then you move on, and then you just go on another date with someone else.
Fantastic, absolutely. Okay. So, you know, these things that we are discussing, you know, I think it might seem like, you know, okay, these are common sense things and these are things that we know. But I think when it comes to the practicality and the actuality of doing it, then it's always nice to get a reaffirmation, certainly from an expert like yourself who's spoken to a lot of couples, a lot of singles, and you can see the blueprints that work. Yeah. So the next question I want to ask you, Marianne, is about when you are in a relationship, someone's in a relationship, you know, they're coupled up, and I think that nowadays we probably don't communicate as effectively with each other in our friendships, in our relationships, as we could really. So I want to ask you, what are some communication issues that affect couples in today's age from your observation?
Okay. Well, one thing, first of all, communication issues are one of the major reasons people come for couples counselling. Whether the communication between them is just arguments or whether it's just no communication, for whatever reason, that's a major thing. So what I would say, some of the issues that come up for couples are that they don't identify each other's communication style. Now, if you're in a relationship with someone, you have to, it's essential to understand how they communicate and how you can communicate more effectively with them, what works basically. If you've got a person and your partner, when you're going on and on and on and on, and if you're a person who likes to argue and disagree until you reach a solution, so person A, their communication style might be, when we have a disagreement, we have to keep going and keep going and keep going until we reach a solution. Person B, you know, the partner, might say, right, when we have a disagreement and we can see we're not getting anywhere after 20 minutes, I prefer to take a break, leave it and come back to it tomorrow. Now, if you don't know each other's communication style, you're both going to be aiming for different things. And that's when these people are having these disagreements that can go on for days and days and days, because one person is like, why are you still talking about this? The other person is, I'm going to keep talking about this till we find a solution because I can't rest until we do. So that's one issue, communication style. Second issue, which is another major one for couples, is communicating with an agenda. And what I mean by that is your whole purpose of telling someone something is to make them feel bad or to make them at fault or they're to blame. So what I mean by that, Rebecca, is whenever people use the terms, I feel sad or I feel upset because you did this, or when you do this, it makes me sad, or you're basically saying to that person, you're at fault for this. Now, the person might be at fault, but no one can make you feel anything. You feel that yourself. So what I would say is, I've done a video on this on my YouTube channel, is the best way to get around this is when you're communicating to someone, when there's a problem, the first thing you will say is, I feel however you feel. So I feel angry or I feel sad. So you're owning it, you're owning that feeling. That's the first thing you're saying, I feel this way.
Right.
The second thing you say then is, last night when you didn't close the curtains, or I don't know, whatever it is, when you did that, this is how it made me feel. So you're not blaming them. So if you notice the difference, instead of saying you did this and you're a bad person and it's your fault, you're saying, I feel this way. When you took this action, this is how I felt. And then the third step to it is you're producing a solution. So you're saying, right, I feel upset because you forgot my birthday. Over the years, you forgot my birthday and we've not really done anything on my birthday and it leaves me feeling upset. From now on, could we make an effort, or could we both do something on my birthday? Do you see how simple it is to communicate without that person then feeling that they're at fault?
So it's less projection and more ownership.
Yeah,
which is
how you feel. But you're also, the third part to it, and Rebecca, is when you're in a couple, when you're a unit, you find a solution for both of you. So you say you say, you know, in future, let us do this, or in future we can. Whereas when you say to someone, you know, if you don't do this in the future, I'm leaving you, or sick of you leaving your shirts everywhere. If you don't start tidying up, then it's over between us. The minute you put ultimatums, or the minute you say to that person, you know, you're at fault for everything, they're going to get defensive. And when someone's defensive, they're not listening to anything you're saying at that point. All they're doing is thinking, I'm sick of how this person is talking to me. They switch off.
Yeah. I think it might be fair to say that, you know, when we are in a relationship perhaps and we, you know, have interactions with each other, the only models that we might have are immediately our parents.
Yeah.
Sure. And, you know, because they probably didn't always get it right, then no one would ever tell us, actually, these are the approaches that might work. So your service is really valuable, and I can imagine you've had some great shifts with couples that you've worked with.
Yeah, thank you for that, Rebecca. And yes, I've seen it in the counselling room. I've actually seen people. I'll do an exercise where I'll give 2 minutes, where I time it as the counsellor, and I ask certain questions, and I ask one couple to speak to their other couple, the partner, and the partner just has to listen. And then after the 2 minutes is up, then the partner can respond to what they've heard. Now, when you assist people in, it's called active listening. So when they're listening, all they're doing is listening to what that person has to say. They're not thinking about their answer or anything like that. And what I've seen is that for a lot of couples, it's the first time that they've actually, without distractions, listened to what the other person is saying. And what they thought the person was saying is not actually correct, because at the end of the exercise, what I do is make sure we clarify, did you hear what that person said? Because that's another key communication issue, interpreting things wrong, or thinking we know what the person means or said without checking with them. You know, the best way to understand someone and what they're saying is not for you to guess in your head, well, because you said this, it means this. It's to ask, am I hearing you right? Am I correct when you said, all the other thing is when people use words like always or never, you know, you never take me anywhere. You know, does that mean in the years you've been together, you've never been out? Or talk down to me when your parents are about. You know, I'll use that in the counselling. I'll say, okay, have there been occasions where you've been round to the parents and the person hasn't talked down to you? Or because always and never are very definite words, and that's another thing. If you keep throwing that at someone as well, they're going to see that as being you're really, really getting at them, really, because you're saying that they're useless, basically, in some ways.
Yeah, great, okay. And what I'd like to move on to now, actually, is couples who have children. You know, there might be small children, but the thing is that the focus might be looking after the children. So that means that there's less focus on the relationship. So what are some tips that you can share on how couples can nurture their relationship and keep it alive when they've got to go to work, when they've got to do shopping, when they've got to look after the children?
Yeah, it's like life gets in the way, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it does, yeah.
It's so hard in this like day and age to like maintain sometimes a relationship. It's not even just when you're married, because of the amount of responsibilities, commitments, work. Time is like a major thing for lots of couples, and especially if they've got children, because your children do have to take priority. You know, you can't say to your child, you can't have dinner, you know, while me and daddy go off somewhere. You know what I mean? Yeah. The child has to be prioritised. However, some of the things I would say is that you have to, I was listening to a YouTube, I can't remember who it was, and what he said was, when you're in a couple, each individual in that couple has to take 100% responsibility for how that relationship goes and how it flows. And what that means to me is, if you both decide individually that, look, yes, we've got children, yes, we're working, yes, you know, things are not how we want them to be, but we're both committed individually so that we can, to this relationship, we're going to make time, we're going to find time. And that could be anything from getting a calendar out, and the first of every month, you're going, you know, that's date night. Now, what that would mean is, regardless of what else is going on in your life, the first of each month is date night. You could even say birthdays, and certain birthdays, Christmas, Easter. You could actually block them out on the calendar and say, right, these are times where we're going to spend together, just for us. We're going to go away somewhere. We're going to do something together. As a couple, if you do not do activities jointly, meaning that you either don't have a common interest, I'm not saying you have to go and play football, watch football, you know, as a female, or you have to go and do an activity, but if you have separate lives, meaning that you don't do any joint activities, but you also don't spend enough quality time as a couple, then I don't really see how your relationship can bond, if you like. I don't know, it's not going to be as close, you know. You're going to just be going through the motions, where you'll do the day-to-day practical things, you know, you'll do the shopping, you'll do the cooking and whatever, but that's not what creates intimacy, you know.
Yes. And I think actually it might be a scenario where the children grow up, you know, they leave home, and then the partners actually realise that they don't even know each other at all.
Yeah, that's quite common, isn't it? What I've heard, that once the children are out of the picture, then it's like we haven't got anything in common now, and we've got nothing to focus on, because now the child has gone, we've got nothing to talk about. So in order for that not to happen, it's about creating a life as a couple. You know, what type of, you could even, Rebecca, people could even sit down and have their goals written down. You know, what relationship goals do you have? What do we want to do as a couple? Do we want to buy a house in the countryside? Do we want to have regular weekends away? What can we do to keep that spark going? As I've said, relationships don't just happen. You have to make them work, and you have to find ways to keep that spark, because when you lose the intimacy, then really what you have is just a couple who are just functioning, but there's no connection between them. You are just functioning because it's comfortable, and I think that's where things like affairs happen. That's where arguments come in, resentment, where the person thinks, why am I with this person? They're holding me back in life. Looking across at that person and thinking, they're not the person I fell in love with. That's not the person I want to spend my life with. You have to nurture the relationship, basically, whether children are there or not. So that's
okay. So you've touched on one thing that we're going to delve into now, and that is, you mentioned that's how affairs can come up.
Yeah.
Can a relationship ever survive an affair?
Oh, interesting question. Now, I've counselled couples where there's been infidelity. That's the second thing that lots of couples come for counselling for. I don't think it's black and white. I would say that in some cases, for some couples, the fact that someone has had an affair, that's going to be it. You know, that's their line crossed and that's the end. I'd say that isn't the majority, especially if a couple is married. The couples I've worked with who are married and have been married for a number of years, it's unlikely that they will leave over an affair. They will be upset about it. They will probably not be able to get over it, but they're probably not likely to leave. So what I would say is there are some key points. If you're making the decision to remain with someone who has cheated or has an affair, then it's going to be both ways, that you both need to take certain steps. So the first thing is you both need to sit down and have a brutal and honest conversation about this affair. Now, for many people, they're not willing to do that. I had a couple who came to see me, and that's all she wanted, was to actually be able to ask questions about this affair, to be able to talk about it, but he just didn't want to do it because he felt, I don't want to talk about the affair, I want to move forward. If you don't sit down and have that full-on conversation, you know, this is how I felt when you cheated on me, this is how I'm feeling now towards you, I need to ask questions about why this affair happened, because once you have that full-out conversation, right, then what you're doing is you need to then say, I'm putting this to bed now.
I mean, yeah. Sorry to interrupt there. Could it also be, I don't know from your experience, do people always say, well, actually, this is why I had the affair, this is what I'm feeling? Do you get that as well?
I'm not saying that when you're asking those questions or where you're having that conversation, that it's always going to go the way you want it to. Maybe the person isn't going to be honest. Maybe that person isn't going to even acknowledge how you're feeling. But what I'm trying to say is, if you don't have that conversation, what's happening is you're pushing it under, you're suppressing how you feel. The person who's had the affair is always going to have guilt.
Well, I get that, but what I want to say to put across is people have affairs for a reason.
Yeah.
So as well, the part of the closure, I'm just wondering, because I'm not the expert, I'm just checking, is it that people want to find out what caused the person to have the affair, or do you get, on the reverse of it, people coming into the session saying, actually, this is the reason I had the affair, and this is what I'm feeling as to why I had to go outside of the relationship or outside of the marriage? I'm just wondering if you get that as well. Do you get people wanting to share that information in the discussions?
I think you get a combination of both, depending on the couple. Some couples are ready to say, look, this is why I had the affair. It was because we were arguing at the time, or it was because you wasn't giving me enough attention, or it was because blah, blah, blah. Now, if they say the reason they had the affair, it's a good start, because then you can work on you can work with that information. The problem is when the person doesn't want to say why they had the affair, or they'll give a reason which doesn't add up to the other person, because it doesn't make any sense. You know, the other person won't accept that as a reason. And what happens there then is that the other person then feels bad about themselves. You know, I must have pushed him or her to it. There must be something wrong with me. And the most damaging thing about an affair is the impact it has on the person who's been cheated on. If they don't get the work on themselves and they don't work through how they're feeling, the relationship near enough is over, because that person who's been cheated on is constantly thinking something's wrong with me, and also the trust has gone. And when you get to them levels where you are going through people's pockets, you're timing them for how long they've been gone, where you're sitting there and you're on edge every time they go out, that is a damaged relationship which needs to be repaired. And I do think therapy can help, because what therapy does is it literally sits people down and looks at the reality. I might say something like, Do you feel that if your husband or wife walks out the door and you phone them every 10 minutes, do you think then that will stop them having another affair? Because in reality, nothing's going to stop someone from cheating except that person who cheated. They can only stop themselves. Another person can't stop someone from doing anything. So what we need to look at with the couple is, do you trust that person enough to remain with them and believe or have a little bit of faith that they're unlikely to do it again?
Okay.
Everything's a risk.
Yeah. So I think what we can pick up certainly from what you're sharing with us, Marianne, is that when we do enter counselling, certainly for relationship counselling, that we do need to be prepared to dig deep, to have some uncomfortable conversations and to be open and honest and to probably accept really, what we're discovering through the process really, so we can move forward from it. Yeah. So trust, like you've said already a couple of times, trust is a major, significant factor sometimes in these situations. So if someone has had a bad experience in their relationship and they find it difficult to trust again, what advice would you give to them?
I think really it's about acknowledging, first of all, that person acknowledging that they do have trust issues. They do have some sort of issue with trust generally, because then you can almost unpick it and take it apart a bit. Okay, so if you had 3 relationships and they went really well, but then your 4th relationship he cheated, or your 4th relationship he hit you, what you've then done is you've taken the one relationship that was negative and you've then concluded that no men can be trusted. So you're trying to backtrack with the person, look at the history of where this has come from, and then you're trying to help them get to a point where they feel that they can trust again. So one of the questions I might ask someone if they're struggling with trust issues is, how much of a risk, how much do you want to be in a relationship again in the future? Now, if they're certain that that's what they want, then they're going to have to take a risk at some point in their life. They're going to have to trust another person, because to be in a relationship, there is no guarantee. However, they can put certain things in place. So if previously they've been too open too early, by talking about they love the person, or by maybe moving in with the person early, they've already got a history to say, well, okay, instead of me doing this, I'll do things a little bit differently, but my heart is still going to be open. And the second part I always say as well is, are you allowing one person who's messed up and who's broke your trust? Are you allowing him to have power over all the other men out there that haven't done that yet? There's no evidence to say that the next person is going to be untrustworthy because the previous person was. So we try to bring the person into the present really, and into the future by saying, look at all the positive things that could happen. Instead of thinking, I can't trust anyone again because this has happened to me. It's really about trying to help them to see things from a different perspective, really.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay. And for someone who's older, an older single who's taking steps to start dating again because they've been out of the dating scene for a while, what are some approaches that an older person can take in this day and age, when we've got internet dating, things are moving fast? How can an older person approach dating?
Well, what I would say, this is just my perspective. Dating sites, because of the amount of women and men that are on those sites, I would say that maybe a mature person, that wouldn't be the best platform. Reason being is that naturally, a lot of times, when men have got lots of choices, or women, options in front of them, some of the little factors like age or location are going to be more prevalent. So if you're in your 40s or 50s and you're on a dating site, but the majority of people on there are in their 20s and 30s, the competition or the is higher, if you like. So I would say, it's not to say it's impossible, but I probably would avoid dating sites as a place. What I would say is, as an older person or mature person, regardless of whether you're single or whether you're dating, it's about, as you're growing up, you're taking care of yourself, meaning you're taking care of your body, you're staying in shape, you're making sure you look presentable. You know, I think you just, and you have to still have an open mind, be positive. People connect with people based on who they are deep down. It's the energy of that person. So if you're in your 40s and 50s and you're getting dressed up and you're going out and you're engaging with people, socialising, find some locations where you can go that you're not going to feel out of place. So I'm not suggesting you go clubbing if that's not your scene. Go out with your friends, you know, in groups, go out to eat. You need to make yourself seen. You know, you're not going to find someone if you're stuck at home saying, I'm too old to meet anyone, no one's going to like me. You need to dress up. You need to keep yourself looking good, keep a positive attitude, and don't be persuaded or put off by age. You just really have to be focused on what you want. But as I've said, I would possibly avoid dating sites. That's just my opinion.
No, that's fine. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. Yeah, because, you know, everything helps really, doesn't it? Yes, okay. So let's just talk about creating a deeper sexual, emotional and physical connection in a relationship. How can a couple do that?
Well, I think, as I said, like previously, earlier, I think sometimes the intimacy is the first thing that goes when, like, life gets in the way. So there's so many couples, and the one thing I want to stress is it doesn't mean that, you know what I mean, you're jumping on each other every night and that, you know, if you've been married for 20 years, you're still going to have the same sex life that you had when you, you know, years ago. Or intimacy as well doesn't have to mean sex. This is another thing that people get confused with.
Could just be holding someone, couldn't it?
Yeah. Intimacy can be sitting next to each other on the chair and cuddling. Intimacy can be having a bath and getting your partner to come in the bath and rub your back. Intimacy can be giving each other a massage. There are so many ways you can create intimacy without having sex. But then obviously the deeper form of intimacy is through sex or making love. Now, what I would say is it's similar to what I said about when life gets in the way with the question you asked. You have to create it, you know, and part of that creating intimacy means that instead of taking things for granted, you know, I'm not going to get dressed up because I've been working in the house all day, and when my husband comes in, I'm not going to make the effort to look good. Why should I? You know, he knows what I look like. Or I'm not going to go out and buy sexy lingerie, or I'm not going to do this. That's your decision. It's back to this 100% thing, taking responsibility for your relationship. If you feel that things need to be sparked up, you know, and you need to create something, be spontaneous, you know, book a table somewhere and just like surprise your partner with it, or do something you wouldn't normally do. Spontaneity and surprise can create intimacy because of the fact the person isn't expecting it. When you get into that routine where you come in the door every day and you know what to expect, or where you know what food you're going to be eating, you know what you're going to be doing routine is one of the things that kills a lot of relationships, because there's nothing to kind of get.
There's no spice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I think it's so simple. It is literally, like I just said, running a bath for someone and then saying when they come in the door, oh, I've ran the bath for you. I'll come up in a minute and scrub your back. You know, the thought of then your partner coming in, rubbing your back, then you don't know where that's going to lead. You know, find someone a present and making it more like sexual. You know, there's so many sex toys out there. There is lots of lingerie shops now. It's not taboo, you know, to go and buy your partner something. You know, I could go on forever, but intimacy is literally make that decision. You want to create a deeper connection, and this is one thing that I'm going to do tonight to be part of that.
And I suppose essentially a question could be, what can I do to demonstrate to my partner that I'm not taking them, or I don't take them for granted?
Yeah.
You know, do something special, something different, something nice. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'll tell you what. I actually
Yeah.
spoke to someone. She was actually from Zimbabwe, in fact. And
Yeah.
she said that what she does, and this was actually when she's starting to date someone to get to know them, when they're having a telephone conversation, she'd prepare a set of questions or get him to prepare some questions. She has some questions in a box that's by the telephone. He has his own questions. And then as they're in the conversation, they actually pull out a question and ask each other the question and, you know, discover how to get to know each other through randomness. And I thought that was quite nice, actually, because it's different, isn't it?
I think that sounds really good. What a fantastic idea, because it's different, isn't it? It's not it wouldn't be something that you'd expect.
That's right.
It's always good to do the unexpected, because just because you've known someone for 20 years or however long you've known them, how brilliant is it for someone to find something out about you which they haven't known in all that time, and you can do that by doing something spontaneous or random. And then that just gives you that maybe that spark that you need.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you know, that's a great strategy and approach there.
More thing as well.
Sorry, say that again.
One more thing. This thing about separate beds or separate rooms. I did actually make a video on that as well. The one way to kind of decrease intimacy is where you don't share a bed with each other, because during the day you might be working, there's no chance for you to have maybe those like moments, maybe sitting on the chair or whatever. If you spend your evenings in separate rooms, then the distance is going to be there, you know, because it's not about sex, as I've said, but it's about creating intimacy, because you're lying next to each other in that bedroom, you're feeling each other's heartbeat, you're lying side by side. Regardless of what's happened in the day, you know you've got that night to cuddle up. If you're in separate rooms or separate beds, then you are actually decreasing intimacy as a couple. Now, it's an individual choice. People say things like snoring or we just want our own space, and that's fine. It's not a judgment on anyone. But if you're talking about intimacy, then that is something that kills intimacy, by separate beds or separate bedrooms.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for mentioning that. And what we are going to do is that we're going to share your contact details. I know you've got a lot of videos. You've got a YouTube channel. I think you do videos every day, don't you?
No.
Don't you? Oh, do you not? Because I know you've got a lot of content, haven't you?
Yeah, but it's been built up. No, it's definitely not every day. I'd love to. On my YouTube, I try and post a video once a week. So it's only once a week. On my Facebook, I go live probably every few weeks. I go live. But it's just that, it just seems like a lot. But then, no, I don't. Yeah. In the new year, I am going to try and just commit to more. But I do enjoy it. Right,
okay. So what we are going to do, we're going to share your contact details a bit later on. But now we're going to enter the quick fire zone. Are you ready for that, Marianne?
Yeah, ready. Okay,
great. Okay, so first question in the quick fire section. What's number one in your self-care routine?
Facials.
Okay, lovely. How often do you have them?
Every 2 weeks.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. And what do you enjoy about that? What does it give to you internally?
It just means it's time for me where I'm lying there and someone's pampering me.
Right, okay. So just time out, which is great. Yeah, that's important, isn't it?
Very.
Yeah. Okay. Question number 2. Who inspires you?
Oh, Oprah Winfrey. I'm massively
me too.
Yeah. I watch a lot of Oprah Winfrey videos, so she's up there, definitely.
Yes, absolutely. Fantastic. And tell me one thing that you've observed about her, you've heard her say, that stands out for you.
Just the law of attraction stuff. I just love the fact she just is so adamant about it, that she has this strong belief. She promotes confidence. You know, when you see her in action, when she's interviewing people, she's just got this gentleness about.
Yeah.
I think she's amazing.
Yeah. I remember watching a video of hers once, and she said when she goes into a boardroom, sometimes she's often the only black woman. So one of the things that helps her to be strong, to develop her confidence, and this was years back when she first started out, she said, was to remember that I don't walk as one, I walk as 10,000. meaning that she's got the spirit of the ancestors behind her. And I've actually remembered that when I've been in situations where I've had to, you know, go in front of an audience. So that stands out for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 3. What book are you currently reading or have last read?
Oh, this is a good topic. I'm reading this book because I'm reading a really good book. It's called Getting to I Do.
Getting to I Do.
I Do meaning to get into marriage. So getting to say the words I do. Yes. And it's by Dr. Patricia Allen. It's a fantastic book. It's for single women who want to get married. But it talks about things like masculine and feminine energy. It talks about dating. It's a brilliant book, and I'm halfway through. I've been reading it recently.
Wow. Well, I hope when her sales go up immediately after this video, this podcast goes out, that she recognises it's because of us.
Well, I've done a book review of the video, especially on the masculine and feminine energy bit, because it's amazing, Rebecca. I think you'd like the book too.
Right. So, yeah. Okay. Getting to I Do by Dr. Patricia Allen. Okay. So, what's your word for 2017, Marianne?
What's my word? Oh, yes. Abundance.
Oh, lovely. Tell me more.
Abundance is my word, because every time I've kind of connected with what I really want, every time I've pushed myself, then I just believe abundance is out there. I was having a conversation with my sister today, and I was saying to her, there's a million ways to make money, to create wealth, to create love. If we really sit down and think about it, there's nothing we can't do. So abundance to me, because every time I've thought, right, I'm at the bottom, I haven't got this, or maybe I haven't got enough referrals, maybe I have just about got enough of this amount of money or this amount of food, something comes up, something happens.
Absolutely. It's
abundant.
Yeah.
That's my word. That is just my word.
That's right. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And what important lesson has life taught to you?
Well, to never give up on your dreams, to just, regardless of whether people are saying you can't do it, regardless of whether it seems impossible, keep going. I'll never give up on all the things I want, and the more you keep going, the more you get what you want.
Well, the thing is about passion is that it will never go away.
Yeah.
And there are some people who are fortunate enough to actually go after and live their passion, but there are those who actually die with their passion still in them. Yeah. So, exactly. You know, we're living in crucial times now, and actually this is it, isn't it? This is the time.
The time. You've got nothing to lose. You know, what is it? Is it better to try to do something and then it doesn't work out, or is it better to not try, to be fearful of doing it, and you'll never know? I would prefer to try and mess up 100 times than not try and then just have regrets because I didn't try.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Fantastic. Okay. So, Marianne, please share your contact details with the listener.
Yes, sure. You can find me I've got a Facebook page, so that's NU Journeys Counselling Facebook page, where you can send me a message on there. Sometimes I do get my referrals through Facebook. I've also got a YouTube channel, the same name, NU Journeys Counselling. You can also email me at nujourneys, one word, @yahoo.com. You can also go to nujourneys.co.uk, that's the website. And finally, my direct contact for my New Journeys Counselling is 07934 920 678. There's all the ways to contact me. Okay,
so it's been a really, really good show, Marianne. Thank you so much for all the value content you've shared, the value you've given to our listeners, who can take a lot away from your information on how to nurture the relationships.
Thank you, Rebecca.
You're welcome. And what are your closing comments?
Just to say to people that don't feel stuck in a pattern of behaviour. When you're in a relationship, don't feel that if things are going wrong, that you either have to bail out on it or that things have gone too far for things to change. I'm not saying this because I'm a couples counsellor. You don't always have to go for therapy. Sometimes it's just about trying a different approach. We've done this for 20 years now. It hasn't worked. Let's try something different.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Marianne.